And today we're digging into something really rich, a sermon from Pastor Shawn.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission, you could say, is to unpack well, the profound and sometimes, messy insights he shared from Genesis chapter 15.
Messy is a good word for it sometimes.
It is. He starts right off with this image, cutting animals in half,
Yeah.
which, isn't your everyday sermon topic.
Definitely grabs your attention.
Right. And it makes you ask, like Pastor Shawn did, why does this really old, kind of strange story about cut up animals and this guy Abraham later on,
Right.
why does that matter now? Especially, with the new covenant people talk about.
Yeah, it sounds odd, maybe even a bit grim at first, but Pastor Shawn uses it brilliantly to pull us into some deep theology.
Absolutely.
Well, he shows how this messy Old Testament stuff isn't just history. It connects directly to us, to our faith, and especially to how God makes and keeps promises.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Pastor Shawn starts us back in Genesis 12, right? With Abram and Sarai.
That's the beginning of this specific journey, yeah.
God gives Abram this huge command. Leave your country, your kin, your father's house, and go to the place I'm going to show you.
Just like that. Pick up everything. Go somewhere you don't even know.
Imagine hearing that. Based purely on, a voice, a promise.
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive leap of faith from the get-go.
And right away, God adds these incredible promises. Pastor Shawn really laid these out.
Yeah. What were they again?
I'll make of you a great nation. I will bless you. And then I'll even curse those who curse you. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed.
Wow. It's huge. Covers everything. Not just Abram, but everyone.
It's world-changing stuff right from the start.
And Pastor Shawn so then Pastor Shawn jumps forward. We're in Genesis 15 now.
Right. Some time has passed.
And the Lord appears to Abram again in a vision this time. And the first words are key. Do not be afraid.
Mm-hmm. And Pastor Shawn shared that insight from his Old Testament professor, Rolf Jacobson.
What was that?
That do not be afraid. In this context, basically means get ready for good news.
Oh, okay. So it's like a setup.
Exactly. God is saying, good news, Abram, your reward shall be very great. A big announcement is coming.
But Abram, he's been waiting a while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor Shawn paints this picture of him being, a bit skeptical.
Understandably so. Years have passed.
Yeah, like he's thinking, scoffs? Yeah, right. Heard that before. You pulled me away from my home, my family, my nice life.
Out here in the middle of nowhere.
And look around. Do you see a great nation? No. And honestly, maybe he's thinking, still waiting on some of that cursing my enemies action.
It's that raw human frustration. Looking at reality versus the promise. It feels very honest.
But God's response is just
wow.
Powerful. Doesn't scold him, just redirects his focus, tells him, look up, count the stars if you can.
So shall your descendants be.
Yeah. And Pastor Shawn really emphasizes this. In that moment, despite the doubt, despite the waiting, Abram believed the Lord.
That's the turning point, isn't it?
It seems to be. He shifts from looking at his current lack to God's infinite power to make it happen.
And Pastor Shawn connects this to Hebrews, right? The definition of faith.
Mm-hmm. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
So Abram's faith, his belief in this unseen future nation coming from him, even with no kids yet. Pastor Shawn calls it the pinnacle.
High point, yeah. His trust is so complete right then. And God sees that trust, that belief in the unseen, and counts it as righteousness. Like Abram's standing with God is made right just through that trust.
Despite his flaws, despite the previous wavering, it's all about the trust in that moment.
Okay, so Abram believes, pinnacle of faith, and then God says, okay, now let's make this official, basically.
Sort of, yeah. Wait, there's more. And this is where we get back to the really weird part.
The animals.
The animals. God asked for specific ones. A 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram.
A turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Quite the list.
And Pastor Shawn didn't gloss over it. He used that vivid image, maybe a bit gruesome, talking about cutting them in half, maybe with a chainsaw, metaphorically, except the birds.
Right, their necks were snapped. It's jarring.
It is, and it's meant to be. It signals something incredibly serious is happening.
So what is happening? What's the meaning behind, the animal parts?
Pastor Shawn explained this is an ancient covenant ritual. But the absolutely crucial part here, the detail he zeroed in on, is who walks between the pieces. Okay. Normally, both parties making the deal would walk through, signifying, if I break this, let me become like these animals.
Right, a serious oath.
But here, Only God does. The sermon describes a smoking firepot and a flaming torch, symbols of God's presence passing between the pieces.
Abram doesn't walk through.
No. Abram is just a witness. God alone walks the path.
So what does that mean?
It's profound. Pastor Shawn explained it as God essentially saying, "This promise is entirely on me. If I fail to keep this covenant with you, Abram, let me be torn apart like these animals. Let me die."
Wow. That's intense. God takes all the responsibility, all the potential consequences.
Exactly. It's a completely one-sided commitment from God, an unconditional promise backed by God's own being.
And Pastor Shawn connects this willingness to die
Directly to Jesus. He highlights that God ultimately fulfills this willingness to bear the consequence, to embody faithfulness even unto death in the person of Jesus Christ. A cross becomes the ultimate fulfillment of this ancient, radical pledge.
Okay, that connection is powerful. But then there's this contrast Pastor Shawn points out.
The human side of the story continues.
Right after this pinnacle of faith, where Abram believes and God counts it as righteousness, things go sideways pretty fast.
Yeah, it's almost whiplash. Pastor Shawn notes how Abram and Sarai quickly become impatient. They seem to lose some of that trust, that faith, again.
It shows how fragile our faith can be, even after amazing encounters.
And that impatience leads them to take matters into their own hands. Pastor Shawn called it a disturbing tale of abuse and exploitation.
With Hagar, Sarai's servant.
Yes. Trying to force the promise of descendants on their own terms using Hagar. It's a demonstration of their lost faith, their attempt to help God, and it creates so much pain.
Such a stark contrast to Abram just looking at the stars and believing.
And Pastor Shawn makes this incredibly relevant point. He says this story, sin, going it alone, faith wavering, it's our story too, repeated constantly.
You just change the names and the details.
Exactly. We see ourselves in their impatience, in their flawed attempts to control things.
And he asks that really pointed question. Makes you stop and think.
Yeah. Who of us would want our deepest sins, our moments of failed faith, written down, preached about, read by billions for thousands of years?
Puts it in perspective, doesn't it? The rawness of these stories. They don't hide the messy parts.
And that, Pastor Shawn argues, is why this messy Old Testament stuff matters so much. Our own messy lives, our stories are tangled up in Abram's story.
Which is really God's story.
God's story of faithfulness, that's the key. Despite Abram's ups and downs, despite our ups and downs, the story is about God remaining faithful.
So God keeps this promise, this almost ridiculous lopsided promise, as Pastor Shawn put it.
Even to people like us who reject it or forget it or try to manipulate it over and over again by embodying God's faithfulness in the person of Jesus Christ. That's how Pastor Shawn frames it. Jesus fulfills the covenant. That willingness to die shown symbolically with the animals becomes real on the cross. Let it be done to me. God takes the hit.
So, okay, what does this practically mean for us today? Knowing God's faithfulness is the constant, not ours.
It means God's faithfulness, fully shown in Jesus, especially in his death and resurrection, stands over and above our own faith. Our faith isn't the anchor. God's faithfulness is.
That's a relief, honestly.
It really is. Pastor Shawn emphasizes that our faith, like Abram's, it goes up and down, highs and lows and everywhere in between. Some days, assurance, other days, just doubt.
We're not steadfast.
We're not. But God is. Pastor Shawn uses that imagery again. God stands alone in the midst of hacked up animals. Christ hangs alone on that cross. It's God's singular, unwavering commitment that holds firm.
So our fluctuating faith doesn't disqualify us.
Not according to this promise. That's the core good news Pastor Shawn delivered. God's faithfulness carries us through the doubts, the hard times, the sleepless nights.
Not because we're holding on tight.
But because God is holding on tight. It's based entirely on what God has already done and continues to do. It's a gift, a promise kept for us, not by us.
Which then frees us up, doesn't it? Pastor Shawn had a call to action based on this.
He did. He said we are freed and invited to embody our faith, even though it's messy, sometimes feels hopeless.
Why? So we can participate.
Yes, participate in revealing God's faithfulness to a world that really needs to hear those words. Do not be afraid.
Which means?
I'm about to give you good news. And the good news, Pastor Shawn boils it down, is simply God is faithful. God has fulfilled the promise.
That's it. Simple but huge.
And knowing that frees us to go and live out that good news, embody it for everyone. And as he pointed out, everyone includes all the families of the earth. Back to that original promise to Abram.
Wow. It really comes full circle. From Abram looking at stars to animals cut in half to the cross to us right now.
It's all one story of God's persistent, unwavering faithfulness.
So that wraps up our deep dive into Pastor Shawn's sermon. An incredible look at God's faithfulness as the bedrock, even when our own lives feel, well, messy.
Definitely a lot to reflect on.
It is. And here's a final thought for you to maybe mull over. If God's commitment is so absolute, so radical, that it involves this pledge, symbolic and then literal, to die, rather than break a promise to flawed people, what does that intense, enduring faithfulness tell us about the nature of love itself? And what does it suggest about the limits, or maybe the lack of limits, on grace? Not just for us, but in how we might extend it to others. What kind of good news can we truly embody and share when we really grasp the depth of that ancient promise fulfilled so completely? Something to think about.